In a quiet corner of a bustling cafe, a solitary figure sat with a steaming cup of coffee. The soft murmur of conversations and the occasional clink of silverware filled the air, but she remained lost in thought, her eyes fixed on the rain-drenched street outside. Her name was Elena, and she had come to this place to escape the suffocating silence of her apartment. The scent of freshly baked croissants wafted over, briefly bringing a smile to her lips. It had been weeks since she'd felt the warmth of genuine happiness. Across the room, a couple caught her eye. They were young, maybe in their mid-20s, sharing a booth that seemed too small to contain their laughter. The way they looked at each other was something Elena hadn't experienced in a long time. It was a connection she had once thought she had, but it had faded like the pages of an old book. Their hands touched casually, sending a jolt of something through her that she hadn't felt since her last vacation. Her thoughts drifted to Hawaii, to the soft sands and the gentle embrace of the Pacific. She had been there with her husband, Mark, and their two friends, Jason and Rachel. It was a trip filled with laughter and good intentions, but it had ended in a way she never could have predicted. Elena took a sip of her coffee, the bitter taste a stark contrast to the sweetness of her memories. The warm liquid slid down her throat, carrying with it the lingering taste of coconut from their last dinner together. Seattle, their hometown, had never felt so far away. In the hustle and bustle of the city, the four of them had found refuge in the quiet moments, the spaces between words that spoke louder than any conversation. But Hawaii had changed things. It had been a catalyst for feelings she had long buried, feelings that now threatened to surface in the most unexpected ways. The humid air had wrapped around them, creating a cocoon where the lines between friendship and desire had blurred. And in that cocoon, Elena had discovered a love she didn't know she was capable of. Jason and Rachel had been married for a year, and their bond was palpable. Elena had always envied their connection, the way they could finish each other's sentences and anticipate each other's needs. But as the vacation progressed, she found herself drawn to Rachel in a way that went beyond friendship. Rachel's laugh, her touch, the way the sun kissed her freckles. It was all intoxicating. One night, under the canopy of stars, the unthinkable had happened. A shared glance had led to a kiss tender and filled with longing. The world had stopped, and in that moment, Elena knew that she had crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Now, back in the cold, rainy embrace of the Pacific Northwest, Elena felt adrift. She tried to ignore the butterflies that fluttered in her stomach at the mere thought of Rachel, the way her heart skipped a beat when she saw a car that resembled Rachel's, or the way she ached for the comfort of Rachel's arms around her at night. It was a secret she held close to her chest, a secret that was both a source of pain and a spark of hope. Her marriage to Mark felt like a sham, a facade that she no longer had the energy to maintain. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, snapping her back to reality. It was a text from Rachel checking in on her. Elena's thumb hovered over the screen, unsure of what to say. She wanted to tell Rachel everything, to confess her love and beg for a chance at happiness, but fear held her back. Instead, she replied with a simple "Miss you guys. Can't wait to catch up soon." She knew that the conversation they needed to have was inevitable, but she wasn't ready to face the storm that would come with it. For now, she would sit in this cafe, in the company of strangers, and hold on to the memory of Hawaii, where the rainbow had led her to a love she never knew she needed. The days passed in a blur of rain and gray skies, a mirror of her mood. She went through the motions of her life, but her heart was elsewhere, across the ocean. She found herself looking for signs, anything that might indicate that Rachel felt the same. Was that a lingering glance at their weekly dinner party? Did Rachel's hand brush against hers intentionally? Or was she just reading into things, desperately trying to hold on to a feeling that was as fleeting as the warmth of the Hawaiian sun. The weeks turned into months, and the summer gave way to fall. The leaves outside her window painted the streets in shades of red and gold, a stark contrast to the gloomy palette of her emotions. Mark noticed the change in her, the sadness that lingered in her eyes, the distance that had grown between them. He tried to bridge the gap with sweet gestures and gentle words, but they felt like sand slipping through her fingers. She knew she couldn't keep this secret much longer. It was a burden that was slowly tearing her apart, and she needed Rachel to know the truth. One evening, as the rain pattered against the window, Elena gathered her courage and called Rachel. The line was silent for a beat too long before Rachel's voice, filled with warmth and concern, filled her ear. She took a deep breath and told her everything. The words spilled out like a dam breaking, a torrent of emotions that had been held back for too long. Rachel's response was quiet, a hush that seemed to stretch for an eternity. Then she spoke, her voice shaking with a mix of fear and hope. "Elena, I feel the same." The revelation was like a breath of fresh air, a moment of clarity amidst the chaos. They decided to meet at their favorite spot in San Francisco, a place where they had shared so many memories, to talk about what this meant for them, for their spouses, and for their futures. The anticipation was agonizing, each day feeling like a year. Yet there was an undeniable excitement, a whisper of possibility that maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to navigate the stormy waters ahead. The city of love was calling to them, offering a chance to explore the depths of their feelings without the weight of their shared secret bearing down on them. And so the stage was set for the next act in their lives, a chapter filled with love, doubt, and the inevitable heartache that comes with choosing between the path you've always known and the one that whispers of something more. The journey to San Francisco was not just a trip across the country. It was a leap of faith, a chance to rewrite their story. They knew that the road ahead was fraught with challenges, but in that cafe, with the scent of rain and the echoes of their confessions, they made a pact to face them together, hand in hand, ready to conquer whatever lay in store for them. Elena and Rachel arrived in the city by the bay, their hearts beating in sync with the rhythm of the fog rolling over the Golden Gate. The familiar sights and sounds of their favorite haunts greeted them like old friends, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within their souls. They found refuge in a cozy Airbnb nestled in the heart of the Castro district, a place where they could be themselves without the prying eyes of their past. The walls were adorned with art that spoke of love in all its forms, and for the first time in what felt like forever, they allowed themselves to hope for a future that didn't involve a lifetime of pretending. Their first night was a whirlwind of emotions. They talked for hours, their voices intertwining like the vines that climbed the walls outside their window. They talked of their fears, their dreams, and the love that had been born in the sultry embrace of Hawaii. They held each other close, feeling the warmth of their bodies meld together, a stark contrast to the chill of the evening. As they lay there, the rain outside seemed to serenade them, a soft lullaby that whispered of new beginnings and the promise of a love that could conquer all. The following days were a blur of exploration and discovery. They walked hand in hand through the bustling streets, their hearts racing with every shared glance and stolen kiss. They dined at intimate restaurants, tasting foods that seemed to dance on their tongues, a reflection of the passion that had been ignited between them. They visited the beach, their toes sinking into the cool sand as they watched the sun set, painting the sky in a palette of pinks and oranges that mirrored their own tumultuous hearts. Each moment was a stolen glimpse of what could be, a taste of a life that was still just beyond their reach. But as the days grew shorter and the shadows grew longer, reality began to seep in. They had to confront the truth that waited for them back in Seattle, the lives they had built with Mark and Jason, the hearts they were about to shatter. They held each other tightly, the weight of their decisions pressing down on them like the fog that clung to the city. The question of whether love was enough to sustain them, to conquer the storm they were about to unleash, hung in the air like the mist that kissed their cheeks. They knew that their time together was limited, that soon they would have to return to the real world and face the consequences of their actions. Yet, in that small apartment, in the heart of a city that had accepted them, they found a peace that was as fleeting as it was profound. And so, as the final day of their retreat dawned, Elena and Rachel faced the inevitable. They knew they couldn't stay in San Francisco forever, couldn't ignore the lives they had left behind. They had to choose between the love they had discovered and the lives they had built. They held each other, their eyes filled with unshed tears, and whispered promises of forever, vowing to find a way to be together, no matter the cost. With a heavy heart, they packed their bags and stepped out into the crisp fall air, ready to return to the storm that awaited them, hand in hand, as the dawn of a new chapter in their lives broke over the horizon. The flight back to Seattle was a silent vigil, their thoughts racing, their hearts heavy with the weight of their secret. The city grew closer with every mile, and the gravity of their situation grew heavier. As they descended through the clouds, the Emerald City sprawled out before them, a tapestry of life that they were about to append. The tension between them was palpable, a tightrope stretched taut over a chasm of doubt. They decided to tell Mark and Jason together, in the safety of Elena and Mark's home. The house was filled with the scent of a pot roast simmering in the oven, a comforting scent that did little to ease the nausea that churned in their stomachs. As their spouses walked through the door, smiles on their faces, the weight of their secret felt like a boulder that could crush them at any moment. They shared a look, a silent agreement that this was it, the moment of truth. Elena took a deep breath, her hand trembling as it rested on Rachel's. "Guys, we need to talk," she began, her voice shaking. Mark and Jason exchanged confused glances before sitting down, their eyes filled with concern. The words tumbled out, a confession of love and betrayal that echoed through the room, shattering the illusion of happiness that had held them all captive. Rachel's hand was a lifeline, her touch grounding Elena as the world she had known crumbled around her. The silence that followed was deafening. Mark's face was a mask of shock, his eyes searching hers for any sign of doubt, any hint that this was a mistake. Jason was the first to speak, his voice low and measured. "Is this true?" he asked Rachel, his hand reaching out to her, as if trying to hold on to what they had. Rachel nodded, her eyes never leaving Elena's, and the air thickened with the unspoken words that hung between them. The conversation that ensued was a tumultuous symphony of anger, pain, and regret. Accusations were hurled, tears were shed, and hearts were laid bare. But amidst the chaos there was also an understanding, a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could all find a way to move forward. The love between Elena and Rachel was too strong to be denied, a force that had taken root and grown into something unshakable. As the night drew to a close, the four of them stood in the living room, their lives forever changed. The rain outside mirrored the tears that had been shed inside, a symbol of the cleansing that was to come. They knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, that their love would be tested in ways they couldn't even imagine. But they also knew that they had a choice, a chance to build something new on the ashes of the old. The story of Elena and Rachel, of Mark and Jason, was far from over. It was a tale of love, of growth, and of the boundless potential that lies within the human heart. As they stood together, the rain outside a gentle lullaby, they realized that the journey they were about to embark on was not one of destruction, but one of creation. They had the power to forge a future filled with joy and acceptance, a future where love could conquer all. And so, with a mix of fear and determination, they stepped into the unknown, ready to face whatever lay ahead, as long as they were together. The following months were a delicate dance of rebuilding and rediscovery. They approached their partners with honesty and patience, navigating the treacherous waters of heartbreak and hope. Mark and Jason, though reeling, were not without their own capacity for understanding. The bond of friendship that had brought them together was too strong to be shattered by one secret. Slowly, the cracks in their marriages grew into paths of healing, as they all grappled with the realization that love is not a finite entity, but an ever-expanding force that could envelop them all if they allowed it. Elena and Rachel moved into their own apartment in the heart of downtown Seattle, a space that they painted with the colors of their love. It became a sanctuary, a place where they could be themselves without fear of judgment. They spent their days exploring the city they had once called home but had never truly seen through the eyes of lovers. Every corner held a new memory, every street a whisper of promise. They grew closer, their love deepening with each shared smile and whispered confession. But as the seasons changed, so did the landscape of their lives. Mark and Jason, though supportive, had to face their own truths. They had to navigate the complexities of their feelings, the loss of what had been, and the possibility of what could be. It was a journey of self-discovery that led them down different paths. Mark found solace in his work, throwing himself into his career with a fervor that had long lain dormant. Jason, on the other hand, began to date again, searching for the connection he had lost. The friendship between the four remained, a testament to the love that had once united them all. Through it all, Elena and Rachel held on to each other, their love a beacon in the fog. They faced the scrutiny of their families, the whispers of their friends, and the sting of societal norms that tried to diminish their happiness. But they remained steadfast, their love a bastion against the storm. They became advocates for the LGBTQ+ community, sharing their story to help others find the courage to live their truths. And in doing so, they discovered that love had not only changed their lives, but had the power to change the world around them. The story of Elena and Rachel, of Mark and Jason, was no longer just a tale of two couples. It had grown into something greater, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the beauty of love in all its forms. As the city lights twinkled outside their window, as they lay entwined in each other's arms, they knew that they had found their home, not just in a place, but in the hearts that had been brave enough to love them. And as the rain continued to fall, they knew that together, they could weather any storm. But the skies of their newfound happiness were not always clear. The storm clouds of doubt and fear would occasionally roll in, casting shadows over their love. They faced the trials that come with any relationship, the everyday challenges of jobs, bills, and the mundane realities of life. Yet they approached each hurdle as a team, their bond growing stronger with every step they took together. The love that had once been a whisper grew into a roar, a declaration that they were not just surviving but thriving. Elena and Rachel's relationship blossomed in the spotlight of their newfound freedom. They attended pride parades, hand in hand, their smiles as bright as the rainbow flags that fluttered around them. They became active in the local LGBTQ+ community, offering support and a listening ear to those who had yet to find their voice. Their love story inspired others, a beacon of hope that pierced the darkness of fear and prejudice. They knew that their journey was not just about themselves, but about paving the way for those who would come after them. And as the years went by, their lives grew richer, more vibrant than they could have ever imagined. They watched their friendships evolve, some fading away, others growing stronger in the face of adversity. Mark and Jason had moved on, finding their own happiness in the most unexpected places. They remained a part of each other's lives, a reminder of the past, but also a testament to the power of forgiveness and growth. The four of them had become a modern family, bound not by blood or marriage, but by the unbreakable ties of love and friendship. Their story was not one of endings, but of beginnings. It was a story of finding themselves in the most unexpected of places, of discovering love in the arms of another woman, and of the courage to face the world and say, "This is who we are." It was a story of a love that transcended labels, that grew from the ashes of what once was into something beautiful and true. And as they sat on their balcony, watching the rainbow arch over the city they called home, Elena and Rachel knew that they had found their place in the world. They were not just survivors but champions of love, ready to face whatever the future had in store, together.